Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 145 for Wednesday, 22nd of May of 2024. Thank you very much for gracing us with your time. We do wish to let you know that tonight will be uh, a different program than our normal programs have been. We'll follow the same pattern at the beginning of the program, but we may end up with a combination of various topics. And for right now, I'll just like to say that our chairman for tonight is not available to us. And if he's able to make it on time, if he's able to make it, I'll just turn the show over back to him. But if he's not, then I'll just continue improvising to present you as feasible a program as we can for tonight. Let me first of all do the prayer and then the reading. Divine loving Father, as we come before thy presence once more, we pray that thou mayest continue to hear our supplications on behalf of ourselves, our family, friends, and loved ones, on behalf of our country of Belize, its people and leadership, on behalf of this country of the United States, its people and its leadership as well. We pray that thou mayest also have mercy upon the rest of humanity, all those people who have need of food, clothes, shelter, and safety. We pray for those who are in harm's way, some of whom are being hurt for no justifiable reason at times. And we pray that thou mayest continue to have mercy upon them as well. We pray that thou mayest guide our program tonight. Whatever we say, may it accrue to the benefit and well-being of our country and people. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much. I'll do a short reading from Proverbs chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Reads as follows. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and learn not unto thine and lean not unto thine own understanding. Amen. That's our reading for tonight. And we don't have a music for tonight currently, but as I said, it's an improvised program, and therefore we will have some additional. I see our technician and other host in the background. He will let himself in at his convenience. And when he does, then I'll just have him introduce himself. But in the meantime, I'll proceed as the program was set up to go. Just a second, please. Okay, here we go. I'll start off tonight's program with an essay that I did today on the 22nd. Well, I didn't do it today, but I revised a little bit of it today. And it was originally posted on Facebook on the 22nd of May of 2022, which is basically 2 years ago. But I think that it is relevant for today, and that is the reason for my choosing it to bring it back to the attention of the general public again. And before I proceed any further, I see our next panelist, Mr. Gregory Brackett, is also gracing us with his presence. Can I just ask him to, before I go further, identify himself and maybe have a short word of introductory, if it's okay for Greg? I don't know what's
Good night and thank you, sir. Good night to
you're
the
welcome.
Belizean at home and abroad. Thank you for tuning in to this 146th episode of Belizean Affair, where we try to do educational work and bring to you the concern of Belizean as well as what is happening in Belize. I thank you for tuning in. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'll then proceed with the article that I said was written back in 22nd of May of 2022, which is 2 years ago, and in which I'm now, I just modified it a little bit and reposted it today. And it goes like this. It says, the following commentary was made by Leonard Brackett to Honorable Don Hector Silva as part of Don Hector's Facebook post on people's complaining about the present PUP-led government of Belize. I titled the article, Pup-led Government of Belize Overreaching. Basically, the intent is to convey the idea that, as we have found out since the present government got elected and has been given the privilege to exercise governance or exercise the powers of governance for our country, which stipulates as a requirement that the government should exercise and implement policies of state that accrue to the well-being and benefit of the people. And as we have all experienced over the last 3 years, going on 4 years now, they have done a little bit of that, but they have failed miserably in terms of some of the policies of state that they have implemented that have accrued negatively to the public at large. Why? Because of mismanagement, malmanagement, and I would say criminal contempt on the part of our government in place at the moment. I'll read what I had written in reply to Mr. Silva, or I call him Don Silva. Honorable Don Hector Silva, I said, my dear esteemed learned patriot, venerable brother, and vanguard of Belize, and former government minister. It seems like the present led government of Belize may not have much interest in serving consecutive terms, open bracket, and may care less about winning the next general election for the Belize House of Representatives, close bracket, exclamation mark, double exclamation mark for emphasis. I went on to say, they now have the governance powers of Belize, which of course they had vied for, beg us to give them, promised that they were going to do certain things according to their manifesto, and other promises that they had made during the course of their campaign. And it appears to be, and they appear to be hell bent on overreaching in the exercise of vested powers and powers not vested. And the exercise of those powers are against the people's interests, well being, despite having sworn to do so. I added today an extra paragraph preceded by a short 3-word statement said like this: "What a travesty." And I went on to explain my reason for stipulating their conduct as a travesty by stating, "Most venerable patriot and father of the Belize nation, Right Honorable former Prime Minister Mr. George Cato Price, would be disappointed and dismayed at what the grand old pup has been turned into and being used for today. Open bracket, the bastardization of his legacy. God bless you and family and Belize always." Of course, I had written that to Mr. Hector Silva in reply to a statement that he had made before. Um, it is unfortunate that we find ourselves at this crossroad where the people who have the governance powers of our country in their hands and who are supposed to be competent and capable of doing much better for us, but for whatever reason or rationale, they choose to do less than they are able to. I would complain, as I have in the past, by saying that part of the reason why they have not been able to do much more for us, just a minute, please. I have something in the background here creating a disturbance. Okay. Part of the reason that I would say they have not been able to do as much as I think that they should have done is because from the time they acquired the powers of ascension to govern the country after they won the election, the first thing they did was to put pressure on the civil service by taking away their 10%. The way they framed that thought initially when they implemented that policy of state was that the government was, as we would say in Belize, broke, or as stipulated by other people, bankrupt. And as stated by the previous prime minister, the credit card would have been overused and would have no additional funds for whoever comes into the governance of the country at that time to be able to do what could have and should have been done. So in a sort of way, they came in under duress, and when they decided to take the 10% from the civil service, even the civil service complained, but they went along in the interest of helping the country to recover. And we had just been through the pandemic, and prior to the pandemic, we had had an economic collapse in the country, as well as we had what you call a social malaise. People were suffering with a variety of problems and issues that they were not able to surmount at the time and caused a lot of harm and hurt to the people and the country as a whole. But little did we realize that the purpose for harnessing, well, I knew, but I'm saying when I say we, I mean the general public, okay? Little did the general public understood the context of why is it that the present government at that time, when they first got into power, went after the union and the other members of the civil service, whom they needed to help them recover the economy. They claimed that they needed the extra money. But they came into office with an agenda to settle all accounts, as you have heard me said before on the other shows, to settle all accounts with Mr. Ashcroft, which then meant that not only did the government needed to come up with money to settle those accounts, but it needed money to continue paying the bills for running the country. And we didn't have enough money. The economy of the country at the time could not sustain both of those activities. So then the malmanagement came in when the government decided, instead of taking care of the public's business first and foremost, they went and took care of all the accounts with Mr. Ashcroft to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, while other people had to suffer through all that process, which is what triggered part of my wanting to revisit this particular commentary that was made back then, that even at the time, one of their own senior politician, and I would say probably the oldest left politician alive from the Grand Old Party, Mr. Hector Silva, was complaining to the present government in public at that about their maladministration and their deviousness, as well as their criminal contempt. Because it was not just basic contempt or oversight, it was criminal contempt. Because when you have a country that's coming out of a pandemic and an economic disaster and a hurricane on top of all of that, and previous to that, they had the drought. So the country was in a very tenuous situation. And the person that is entrusted with the governance leadership of the country and his cabinet and the majority of his, or super majority of his elected colleagues in the House and in the Senate, would turn around and squeeze money out of the country, raise the price of goods. They complained that the price of goods was being too high and that the merchants were, on top of that, chancing the people, charging them for things higher than, with a higher price than should have been or should have been reasonable, collecting the GST, and we're not turning over all those GST to the government to help the government coffers meet the government obligations. We told them that the people were chancing the public. They went and sat down with some of the merchants, and then came back and told us in the public that we were lying on those people because the people and they were having they get together with them, and the people tell them that no, they were not chancing the people, or they were not stealing from the people, or doing anything about collecting GST and not paying it in. That in itself was contemptuous. If the public is going to the stores or the merchants and shop at those same merchants that they have been shopping for a long time and realize that they have been taken advantage of, and they complain to the government, it is untenable for the government to come back and say, okay, well, the people are lying. We elect the government to serve the public purposes, not to go and hobnob with the merchants and get only donation on the side and then come back and tell us we are a bunch of liars because we complain. So then trust the merchants more than trust we. What the hell do we have them elected for as our representative if they want to represent the interests of the merchants with much more forcefulness and with all governance powers against us? The problem was that they wanted to come up with that money from Mr. Ashcroft, and so they were pulling the whole system. They raised the gas. Every time the gas go up, the Prime Minister get more money off the gas company then, more profit for him. And since they got into office, they kept raising and raising and raising. And nearly half of the price of the gas that the people pay at the pump is collected by taxes by the government. So all those extra monies that the government was collecting was to fatten the amount of money that they were able to put aside and turn over to Mr. Ashcroft while the public was suffering. I have some more to say on that, but I think I'm ranting a little bit more than I need to at this point because I'm not the only one on the panel for tonight. We have our next esteemed colleague, Mr. Gregory Brackett, as our next panelist as well. And I'd just like to yield to him for him to make his own comments. Greg, I yield, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're
But
welcome.
I listened to you and I can only say that it will get worse. We have had bastardization of our constitution
Mm-hmm.
that will not stop. And we are seeing now where we have people in high places speaking on capitalism, basically telling you and me, the Belizean people, that the right way to get the sugar shortage to stop is to have open competition. Then you have Mr. Martelek talking about be able to move away from regulation and have competitiveness as to raise and lower the price of electricity as to how they want to.
Uh, Mr. Greg,
Go ahead, sir.
okay, I want to add one thing to that comment that you just made. What these people are talking about, yes, it's capitalism, but it's the malignant type of capitalism. And what they are talking about is that they want the government to stop doing its job and just allow these people to have what you call a free flow for them to run and control the economy of the country and use the rest of the country and the people as modern day slaves. That's untenable. That's not what we're asking for, and that's not what we're going to settle for. So when these guys then come with the nonsense to talk about let the economy flow and let the marketplace decide what price people have to pay, that's craziness. That's making the bad situation that we have right now even worse. So I just wanted to add that on top of what you were saying there just now to validate and to say that I'm in total agreement with the statement that you made because we can see it happening. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you too, Mr. Brackett. But it goes beyond that. Because again, if we look at the energy crisis when we talk about the air
Mm-hmm.
and we listen to the Prime Minister, or some of the ministers speak about it, the first thing they want to say that is because the economy is expanding. But then if you have an expanding economy, you shouldn't have shortage of nothing because the economy will serve for itself. Any economist would know that. But you out there preaching that your economy is good, but you can't show the assets to prove that. You speak about figures and you show figures out there, but it is not showing. It is not showing in whatever you try to do because you are lacking. You can't pay retirees. You can't pay the teachers. I mean, you're having this problem with civil servants and a whole for years,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to use that to say it's because of the economy. I, for one, don't believe that because I personally believe because of this issue is not an expanding economy, but an expanding population when you brought in all these people under amnesty. The more people you bring in, the more people will need to have water and electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So that is upping your population, which need these services. Because if you want to point to economical gain and we look at factories, these factories are not being run 24/7 like the power that is being used domestically. So the more you bring in people, the higher the need will be for electricity. So, and that one, I disagree with them. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Uh, in addition to what you just said there just now, I just want to add that if the economy, okay, let me say it like this. We have people who are supposed to be economists advising the government. We have people who are supposed to be uh, good at demographic analysis and demographic information, providing information to the government. We have a whole institute of Belize statistics that the government should be able to rely on to get their numbers corrected or get correct or proper information, instead of the Prime Minister just hauling stuff out of his back pocket and stating to the general public, and then having to be found out and be told that he was trying to pull a fast one by misstating what the facts were. But let's go to the economic part. If the economy was so good, as the Prime Minister liked to boast about, he would have been able to at least pay those retired civil servants, police, teachers, and all the other ones their retirement money. Instead of some of these people having to be waiting for years for their retirement money. And in some instances, people have died without receiving their retirement money. These people have their family, they have other commitments, they have their house, they have to pay their rent, or they have to pay their mortgage, or they have to pay their taxes, or they have to send their kids to school, they have to maintain their kids, they have to pay school fees, they have to do all manner of things that the general society has to take care of and do on its own. And if the economy is working, then these individuals will be able to earn a living and make their own, subsistence way. But because the economy is not functioning adequately, yes, maybe the Prime Minister is correct when he says the economy is good, because he's limiting his statement when he says the economy is good to the view that the economy is good, that the economy is being worked on and worked for, and that it works out for. Because there are people in our country right now who are making big money. They're rolling in the money. But those are not the people that we are talking about when we say the economy is not serving the interests of the general public as a whole. We cannot have 68% poverty rate in our country and claim that our economy is so good that the government has to be overtaxing the public in order to come up with extra money if we go give Mr. Ashcroft. And that the government have to give 25 and 30-year concessions to Portico and others so that they don't pay any taxes while the rest of the society they get squeezed to come up with the money to run the government. That's mismanagement. That's malmanagement. The Constitution requires policies of state that accrues to the well-being of the people. As a matter of fact, it's a mandate. It's not a request. The assets of the state must be used in such a way that everybody have a fair chance at making a living. And you can't pressure some people while you let other people slide. The bottom line is that because people are not on the streets and complaining and rioting and carrying on, doesn't mean that you have to have criminal, contemptuous conduct or attitude towards the people. because people might be suffering in silence. But that doesn't mean that you are justified in allowing it to happen like that. If you don't want to run the government and do what government is supposed to do, then just get out the way. The problem is that we don't have nobody else to replace. So that's why these guys take advantage. I yield back again, Greg. You have a particular subject
As
or
I
topic
said
that you want
before,
to divert into?
it goes beyond that because we see where slowly but surely we are moving back to privatization.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who looks at what is happening in Belize would know that. If you just look at the move and the control and the stuff that is being done to control is is beyond any doubt to me that we are living in a police state. The things that they do and how they do it. I would like to go to a clip to let the people understand what we are speaking about. We spoke about they want to have competitive sugar selling, also competitive electricity dispersal. So let's hear this new one that they are coming up with.
And has multiple cars. Like that, it just all works together properly.
And then finally, Jules.
I just to give you a heads up. Show me the PUC letter. Channel 7 and PUC going a war, and Channel 7 ain't alone. I have verbal commitments, or the media houses have made verbal commitments to each other. We ain't gonna pay these PUC fees. These arbitrary, these out of nowhere, these unilateral, these no consultation fees. We are not going to pay.
Hold up, they never consulted about this, Jules?
No, they have shown us a public notice from October of 2020. The PUC, go fire with that. I was on the Broadcasting Authority in October of 2020. No, October of 2020 is no time to propagate new fees because that a month before election and the country is
Right.
They put out in October of 2020 a public notice on these new fees. They never brought it to the Broadcasting Authority. I checked our minutes. I checked with the former general manager. They brought no such thing. So now 4 years later, or 3.5 years later, they are seeking to impose this fee.
Do you even know me? Tell her back there.
And they sent us a bill, and I think we have the letter they sent to Channel 7, saying that we've been charged $1,000. Ain't gonna pay. Take me off the air, Mr. PUC. Call the Channel 7 and shut it down. Can't shut it down. And other media houses are feeling the same way. We are triple tax. I agree this is a personal issue. See it right there, Jules Vasquez, you owe $1,000. Ain't gonna pay. We don't have to pay broadcasting fees. We don't have to pay a trade license. No, you can put down frequency fee. Channel 7 no going to pay. Can shut me down. As I understand it, the radio operators are saying the same thing. No, Channel 7, we don't need to broadcast because most people see it on social media, YouTube, Facebook, or cable. But radio stations, the only way to pick up radio station is by broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are essential services during national emergencies. You are going to impose an arbitrary fee upon them. And it's not $1,000 they're paying because they have to pay for all their repeaters, etc. Love's fee is far more.
Wow.
Ain't gonna pay, that's what they said, and I support them 100%. But when the Prime Minister was here, he said, man, that's the cost of doing business.
Yep.
Sir, I don't know like your brother
Yeah.
who's a millionaire who could work for free. We struggle to keep the lights on, we keep them on. My point is, it's not so much the cost. It's not the $1,000. It is that what will it be next year? What will it be the year after?
If we don't take it this time?
If we accept a third fee on broadcasters that was imposed without any consultation, without the decency to come to us and say, we want to charge this. What do you think? How we could wait? How we could work it with the industry? No. Need to know basis. We don't have to explain this to you.
Exactly.
We don't have to explain nothing to you.
Just take it and go.
Take it. We're not
It's a
spoon.
business,
We're not spoon
Jules.
feed, you know.
It's a business.
Anyway, ain't gonna pay. So May 31st, if you ain't paying, then say they're going to take you off the air. Mr. PUC, Benga, I ensure part of the switch say, contact me off. Contact me off. That may a press conference.
Somebody said to tell us stay on track, Jules.
See.
Stay on track.
Todos ganamos.
It's an
Everybody
expensive
for
track.
win.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh man.
So you see what I'm speaking
You
about?
had me
right?
laughing, Greg. You had me laughing with that one, brother.
No, imagine this is an essential service. What will those elderly people do that depend on the radio news during hurricane season or during like a COVID? What will they do if these people decide not to pay and they want to turn that essential service off? This is how backward the government is.
Do
You
you,
know,
do you get my point then when I started out the show, like I said, even the PUP people and they complain, even former ministers are complaining about these guys racketeering and dastardly conduct. It's not by accident. But why don't they try to do this is because the broadcast media is not beholden to them and it's holding them to account and trying to put pressure on them to do the right thing. So they can't stop, from broadcast, but they can't stop you from speaking. All the laws on Ghana, the House and make since they getting a power recently, have been ineffective and unconstitutional, as we have been saying. So then they try to find another way, for Muslim people. So then when you use the PUC, they go after essential services and try to pressure them. The same crap that I was talking about that they did with the teachers, them. Victimize the teachers, them. Victimize the civil servants. Victimize the broadcasting stations, them. They are using the powers of state arbitrarily and capriciously to do evil to the citizens of the state because we dare to be stupid enough to elect them and grant them the ability to ascension of powers to govern us. These guys, like I said, it's not by accident, oversight. It's not just basic overreaching, as the article was referring to when I read the article just now. It's an actual, deliberate, malignant, I don't know. And it seemed to me like you said earlier, Greg, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. Because as far as these guys are concerned, they don't have no checks and balances. And a lot of people are saying, oh, que viva PUP, on with it. They're not the one with the holla, que viva PUP. They're the one that will have to go pay the other extra fee right now for broadcasting or whatever. But so what happens now when these people decide to start do the transmission only on Facebook, on YouTube, and other means? And they cut the whole local broadcasting system out of any means of operating. In other words, the government will have to turn around and take over and do a Radio Belize scheme all over again from like the very beginning, right? Because they have no control over these other people. But they don't want control over these people with good faith and good intentions and professional ethics and professional practices. They want to haul and pull people. That's not going to get them where they want to go. Imagine if they don't get the constitution in a place and replace with the current one, which is what they've been fighting hard to try and do before the present term is up. And I have spoken to some knucklehead, stupid Belizeans that could care less. I don't have to say, well, they're the government, let them have their one way. They seem not to have the slightest idea that the government belongs to us and the responsibility or the charge that the government have is to exercise policies of state that accrue to the welfare and benefit of the public as a whole and of the country. not for these knuckleheads, their personal agendas or personal aggrandizement or needs. We talked just now about Mr. Chester earlier. That gentleman keep spewing stuff out of his mouth, what sound like he has never been to law school. And the man is supposed to be an attorney. But he keeps talking craziness that doesn't jive with the facts. For example, he was talking just recently about wanting to ban any music venue that, you know, is not what you call cool music or church music for all intents and purpose. That's not the way they tell when he said the people that were sing the Blackguarding song and the whatever else other song. That not stop nobody from singing no Blackguarding song. We've been make it go back and check on Lord Rayban. Make it go back and check on Ireland song what people used to sing for in the 40s and 50s. They're all insinuating all kind of stuff. But he try blame for him lack of police proper practice. He said that them people because we Belizean people to misbehave and go on bad. Why? Because they do not want to do their job. All the man have to do, resign and go practice a law. And try to see if you carry any kind of stupid ideas that they come out of your head to court and hope to prevail. Because the judge will laugh and right out of the court. The man that they go on like he gone to law school and like he learned nothing when he did at law school. Or maybe he never attend the classes them or something. What's wrong with this gentleman? Besides being a lawyer, he's supposed to be a reasonable and rational person. It's not just today that we know the gentleman. We have known him from Iban and grew up that Belize. I think that power they get to this man's head, power they corrupt the man's brains. That's how I could say to justify his conduct.
I think, Mr. Brackett, that the failure has come because of the three things that past and present government cannot do. The
or
present
refusing to do.
Well, I would not say
sorry.
refusing to do. I would say that they cannot do it, especially the present government. It's worse than the past government because they are failing at external policies and internal policies.
Mm-hmm.
External and national security, which is our borders. They are failing at internal policies when it comes to bring peace and harmony in our community. And they are failing economically by creating jobs with private sector and let the economy bloom. They are failing.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even tell you how bad it is. When you come back, when you have a minister will cut out another minister disrespectfully in the house about a carrot, and then you come back this year to another season and you have the same carrot rotting in the field and cannot be sold, as well as onions that cannot be harvested and starting to rot in the field. It means that your policy is bad. You cannot maintain your policy. You are not effective in your policy. And I can call out one who has tried and is failing. When you look at Shibak, he failed at being a minister of health. They're moving over to BL and he's failing at being a minister of energy. These are failed policies that state that comes under national security. It is crazy, ludicrous, and crazy. Let's listen to this.
Oh, okay.
that we're in, the power crisis. It's amazing to me that the Prime Minister will try to pass off that, well, the economy is doing so well that why we got blackout. Bro, we're having blackouts because you and your predecessors have failed to address an imminent problem. This is a failure first at the political level.
Exactly.
Second, it is a failure at the regulatory level. PUC, I cannot express what a waste of time I believe the PUC is. That is my belief from many years of observation. Not just Dean Molina, John Avery before. That's my belief. BEL, that's a whole other conversation that I do. But I believe BL is the least culpable in this. But I believe the problem starts with the political directorate.
Yeah.
And I believe the solar issue that the gentleman was here talking about is indicative of how messed up in their head the PUC is.
Yeah.
Right? We have people who are willing to sell, who have energy to sell into the system, and you are charging them a punitive demand fee and giving them. Why nobody wants to invest is because the return on investment is 13 cents per kilowatt hour, when you all are paying Mexico so much more than that. Right? People need a decent return on their investment.
Yep.
And at 13 cents per kilowatt hour, you can't get it. Anyway, I'm no expert, but it's a multiple failure political directorate. PUDP, PUC, PUDP. Bye.
What up?
A lot of peas, a lot of peas.
peas.
But Joe,
And no
thank you
peace
so
of
much
mind.
for that, Phil. We hope you.
As I said on Monday, total failure. And I said it. The law that they had passed was not in favor of the people. So why can't we just use our own solar system per household? You know why? Because it will put us in another crisis with all the money they are borrowing. You go to the Saudis and borrow $77 million for solar panels, not telling the people you have to go and borrow another $100 million for a 40 kilowatt battery. That is how ludicrous a people we are dealing with. Not coming to the house and telling the truth, not telling the people what is happening. Then you do that and you still go to Mexico and you ask them for more energy, knowing your grid can only take so much. So why are you doing all of this?
Scammers.
I turn back to you, sir.
One word answer. Scammers. But as Jules said, it's a failure at different levels, and it won't get any better, as you said also. And as I would put it, we're dealing with a bunch of vultures, vampires, hyenas, snakes, and vipers. We're dealing with all manner of evil directed towards the general populace of our country under the level of impunity because of control of governance power, which gives them what they call an immunity card. Because as far as I'm concerned, some of these guys need to be prosecuted. They're collecting a salary from mismanagement. They are failing not because they can't do better. They choose to do what they do. Why? As I said, criminal contempt, not just mere contempt. They don't have respect and regards for themselves, much less anyone else. But the outcome of their behavior is the damage that people suffer, the damage that business suffer, the damage that the reputation of the country suffer. As I said, criminal contempt. These guys have no regards and respect or interest in our people and our country.
You
They can
know,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You was
you
about
know,
to say.
Mr. Brackett, we had this talk before about internal policies at
Mhm.
which they are failing at. If you recall, we also had a talk about the service from the fire department when I asked how much fire trucks have the government bought or how much ambulance.
None.
And
They
now
didn't
we
buy
are
the
in a fire
supplies.
crisis. We are in a crisis with fire, forest fire that schools and businesses have to be closing down in the south of the country as well as in the west. And you know what? Crops are being burnt and lost. These people who took out loans for farming, who will assist them? Where will their help come from? You know, it's again failed policy. And I hate to keep saying this because even the fire chief, let's hear from him.
The effect with that is once we're out of electricity, then there's no means for us to receive calls of an emergency. Everything goes down. Our 1 hour backup battery supply that we have that only lasts an hour. Once that hour is up, that goes down. So the entire phone line system is down. Our communication during that time is by a runner. Whether it be somebody comes into the station and informs us of a fire, there's no other way. And even more so, the other utility company, when BWS or when the country or when the city experiences loss of water for whatever reason, that impedes it impedes our firefighting tactics as well. While we will defensively fight fires with whatever type of water we have, whether it be the sea, the canal, the rivers, but when we return to the station, we need to refill up with water from the hydrant. And if the city is out of water, then we need to do the drastic measures, which would probably be.
Now imagine, sir, the
The country is
basic
falling apart, and these guys could care
the
less.
basic essential services that we need. I will name three of them. We are failing in the medical department. We are failing when it comes to protecting our people when there is a fire.
Hmm.
And we are also failing when it comes to agriculture. The basic staple needs that the Belizean people need to survive. Now
Hmm.
imagine the
We are failing in
internal
policing.
policies.
We are failing in policing. Look at almost every department. The only department right now that we are not failing in is probably infrastructure, like probably the roads that were in the bill or when they cut in, and you could see like they have only activity going on. But that was just mostly for electioneering the other day for the town board and city council elections.
We personally, I do not even want to speak about the municipal election because for a fact, the election within itself is unconstitutional. When a court has passed an order for redistricting
Hmm.
and it has not been done, no
Violation.
election should have taken place. Serious. And
The
as I
alternative,
said,
though, Greg, the alternative to that, though, would have been that they would have been grandfathering themselves into holding on to power for longer than what the Constitution would have allowed them to do. So, it, I don't know. Go ahead, sir.
well, sir, I would not even go that route either because it's just like BL. It's not 10 years ago they know this. This has
Hmm.
been said previously on more than one occasion that they need to do with restricting per se the Constitution. So, whichever way they want to put it, it's a total failure of the system. Total failure. Let's hear what the Mexican president had to say.
A meeting with Belize Prime Minister, and there's an agreement with them to also help them with electricity, even with the special situation due to the heat. The agreement will help them fulfill that there's no shortage in electricity in the country. In the case of Belize, we are people, brothers, and we are neighbors. We have to help each other.
So now what will you do with all this power source that you will get in? You have two turbines, one up here that will push out 30 megawatts, one in San Pedro, and you will also get more, and your grid can only take 20 megawatts. So what would be the deal on that? I
20
would hope
megawatts, 20 megawatts more. You could only
to
accommodate
bring
20
it up to
megawatts.
capacity.
Right. Beyond that, all the other things is redundant and is extras. As this question just now, what are they going to do with the extras then?
Exactly. That is my question. Because undoubtedly that will not solve the problem. Or since you will have in so much extra, is the rate going to drop?
No,
Because I know for a
still has
fact
to be paid for. It's been produced,
they,
so it has to be paid for. So there's no two
the
ways about
rate,
that.
let me say this though, just like with the sugar,
hmm
I think what is happening, they are pushing for shortage to raise the prices.
That's it.
I
Bottom line.
think the corporation, the industry has tasted economical gain when they imported the sugar from the United States
They have
and
us over a
sold for a
barrel.
higher price.
They have us over a barrel. They import their own sugar.
Right. So, with that said, what I'm specifically saying is the higher price was
It's
more
not
gain for them, so they don't want to go back. So,
exactly.
I'm making sure there's shortage.
And that
I'm
is calculated
blaming,
and planned for ahead of time, Greg. Unlike
right,
we government that no plan and calculate ahead of time. These people know
right.
what they're doing.
And likewise, the energy crisis. When you are stipulating you bought a new turbine and you have one you are repairing and upgrading that will give you so much and these run and diesel gas, you know who is going to pay for those as well as the 77 million for the solar panels, as well as the 100 million for the battery? The people of Belize. Go ahead,
Uh,
sir.
there's a big mistake was made when the government of Belize initially entered into that contract for bringing in people at Fortis, to bring in Fortis, to build that dam and produce the electricity and sell it to Belize, and then eventually turn around and own the Belize electricity company. There were two big mistakes in a row, because then after they build that dam, whatever electricity that they produce from that dam always get paid for first before we pay the Mexican, and before we end up the take out any difference that from the electricity we used to produce by the remember by the river there, by the riverside there, we used to have a plant that used to produce electricity for the city.
That is correct.
Magazine Road.
That is correct. The old
Okay.
BL
Uh-huh.
known as
So
the Ice Factory.
so what happened is that Belize made a mistake when it went ahead and allowed the foreign company to come in and take over electrical production and control of electricity throughout the whole country, and end up owning the EL. When we got it back, There was nothing put in place. As a matter of fact, we got it back with the idea that Fortis will still keep owning the dam and own 1/3 of the rights and equity in a BEL. Remember that? For all intents and purposes, what that did was to say, okay, Fortis will always collect 1/3 of any money that BEL makes, in addition to being paid for the electricity that they produce, because they own that dam. And that dam has to be kept going. Even when they have low water, they have to keep the dam going. So what Fortis does is, when they had the drought, instead of capturing any water that they could, they allow the water to run down so that they run out of water, or they don't have enough water to produce the electricity. And they turn around, and wherever Belize can get electricity from Mexico or from our own production or wherever, Fortis still get their money, because they own 1/3 of the value of or the assets of the country. I mean, of the company. We should put ourselves going forward now in a situation where we can produce the electricity that we need, and we don't have to depend on Fortis. But that will not fly, because the contracts that they have with the government mandates that they are given the first choice or first preference, because that dam and that facility is already being built, and they must get their money. And if the money that they are getting is not enough, then PUC has to raise the price of electricity, as they are now currently wanting to do, so that the private providers of electricity to Belize can get a better outcome from their investment. They don't give a hoot about the people in Belize. It's all about profiteering. And I'm going to tell the general public something right now too, okay? At the end of the day, the whole intention is to have people justified with the clamor or the need to ask for the government to privatize that entity back again, because they are now going to claim that the local Belizeans can't run it or control it or do enough of a job to help the country move forward. So you're going to have these privateers coming in, offering electricity to the grid, either the extras from Mexico or the extras that Fortis then could produce, or the extras that the solar panel people then could produce, and whoever else not. But the rules are going to be made to facilitate those private people making their money and their investment. It's not going to be made to reduce the price of the electricity for Belizean people. So the prices will go up. Just like the sugar. The sugar price gone up,
Right.
it's not coming back down. At least not to where it was before. Even when the new season start, produce the sugar. Go ahead, Greg. You was about
Well,
to say something.
well, you can see it, because when it comes to BL, the people of Belize do not own it. Yes,
Mhm.
we have shares in it,
We
but
have majority shares.
remember, we have shares in a corporation, which is a
Mhm.
company, and that company is run by Fortis.
Right.
So let's not forget that. Now, if you look at that, they will
Wait,
always
wait,
get
wait,
their
wait, wait,
profit.
Greg, wait. I said yes just now, but there's a difference to the yes. I have to qualify that yes. Fortis own. Remember, we took back the electricity board and electricity BL from Fortis. Fortis don't own the whole thing anymore like they used to do before.
No,
They
no,
own one. They
let
own
me
one
say
third.
this.
They own
Wait,
one
wait,
third.
let me say this.
Go ahead.
Let me say this. We have shares in there as well as Fortis.
Right.
But as a shareholder, we can sit in meetings and all that, but we cannot make decisions. The company does that. And who owns the company? Fortis. So that's what I'm expressing to you. Okay,
That's why I stopped you earlier, Greg.
okay, let's
Fortis,
hear it from,
Greg. I know
let's
you want
hear
to.
it, let's hear it.
It's a bridge and giving us a window within which we can set matters right and do the things we need to do to
But we
actually
need
fix it.
You know, I wish I had more time.
Right.
I see a caller and the time is limited.
Right.
I really have a problem with your suggestion that what we need.
What Mr. Marshall Lake was talking about there, he was
Wait,
trying to bamboozle
wait a second, sir. Run tape, listen to it, listen to it.
Oh,
Bail is a separate legal. Bail is a separate legal person. This people of Belize don't own it. Fortis has a third. The people of Belize owns the rest, but it has private ownership.
but Belize has majority shares through the government, right?
No,
Two-thirds?
the government has a third.
Okay, the government has a third. Fortis has a
Social
third.
security,
Social
the workers'
security.
money have a third,
Social
and
security.
Fortis has a third.
All right, so then you say private because Fortis private and also social security.
Well, there are private interests in there, yes.
Okay.
But the majority shareholder are the people of Belize, is it not?
Yeah, they've entered into a shareholders agreement with Fortis that regulates
The majority
relations.
shareholder are the people of Belize.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but you can't just pop and give instructions how you want. It doesn't work that way.
We got majority shareholders as Belizean. You see that kind of conversation matter, but you can't.
Exactly.
As I said,
Greg,
I
you
said,
cut me off just now. Be fair to me and give me a chance to make I have my explanation, okay? What Mr. Marshall Lake is talking about, he stipulated that Fortis is a private company. And that point I had already told you was the case. So he validated what I had said for that part. But that's not the part that I want to go on. The point that Moores was putting to Mr. Marshall Lake and embarrassed Mr. Marshall Lake, as a matter of fact, by him, Moores pointing it out, is that even Fortis as a private company owning a one dam and a one electricity when it produce and owning 1/3 of BEL doesn't have majority shares in BEL. They have no control over BEL. But because they are an international company, BEL and the government of Belize and the people of Belize who own this, the other 2/3, 66%, cannot just arbitrarily and capriciously do what they want with Fortis because they are an international company and they have a different company registry classification and rules and regulation that governs how they operate their private company. But they can dictate to BEL and we the people who own Social Security own 1/3, just like Fortis own 1/3, and we the Belizean people own the other 1/3. We own more than Fortis, so Fortis has no way of dictating. But we can ram down Fortis' throat just about any and everything that we want because they are a private entity and we are in agreement with them. Therefore, we got to work with them. The problem is that BEL is not owned as they used to be owned by Fortis when Fortis was the big man pan the block. Fortis used to own the whole thing as a private entrepreneur. We took that back.
let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
So,
Mr. Marshall, let me try message
are
people
you
head, you know.
trying to say that he's in denial when he says the people of Belize don't own it? The people don't own BEL?
He's double talking because he damn well know that 3/4, anybody who won 2/3 or something have more power than the person who won 1/3 of it. And therefore that power, once you pass 50% of the value of that company and anything over 50% makes you majority controller of that entity. Whether it's a public-private, it's a private or a public or whatever entity or classification you want to put it under. The bottom line is we don't have no control over Fortis. They are an international company that has a branch of their company in Belize operating locally. And we can't tell them where to do or how to run for their dam or how much electricity we make or not make or whatever. Because we are in partnership with them for them to produce electricity and sell to us. Just like how we get electricity from Mexico sold to us. And we, as
Let me,
BEL, the government of the country,
let me ask
controls
you a
BEL.
question.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Let me ask you a question. If I open a bank and let me say $50,000
No.
and everything is going good, but then based on the economy, I start to lose interest and stuff. And I have you and another person to come in to bail me out,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you input some monies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make you the owner?
Depending on how much I put in. If I put in more than 50%, I have controlling interest. And for all
No,
intents
you
and purposes,
don't.
Greg,
No, you
that's how the
don't.
law, Greg, that's how the law, once I put in more money than you, I have more controlling interest than you. Bottom line, there's
So,
no
so then you
okay,
are,
go ahead. Go ahead.
so,
Go ahead.
so then
Mr.
you are telling me, if I listen to what you are saying, that within your figure of speech, that's a takeover. You should be able to take over the bank for me.
You're
So
not
how come
taking
the
it over.
Belizean people
The
haven't done
person that
that?
wait,
How?
wait. Right there at that point. Don't move the point. Don't move the point. Right there at that point. Once the person women own it before, have the other people come in and own majority shares in that thing. That person women own it before do not have control of it. They have invited other people to come and take over control. Or they might have an agreement where they say, okay, well, I want to manage it for you, right? You invest the money and I want to manage it for a fee. There are different ways of how it could be structured.
But
But more, but
exactly as you
sorry,
are
go ahead.
saying,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
my bank, and I'm lacking. You
It
come
was
on
your
board with me and
wait,
invest.
wait, okay. Make I give you an example of exactly what you're saying, right?
You
A
come on
physical
board
example.
and
Wait,
invest.
wait, wait, wait,
You
wait,
invest
wait.
with me. The name does not change. You does
Greg,
not make
Greg,
decision.
I was going to give you an exact example of
You are just
exactly what
an
you're saying.
investor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When Mr. Ashcroft took over the bank the other day, right? Not too long ago, a few months ago, probably a year or so, right? He put in more money into that bank and he acquired the controlling interest in that bank. The bank never changed the name overnight, then continued operating for a few months after that, right? Until he subsumed it. He took it into his Belize Bank umbrella, right? But let's put that one aside. Let's stay with Smart. A typical example of exactly what you were trying to convey just now. I want to show you with Smart. Smart was originally owned by who? The Brisenials, right? Prime Minister and his family, right? Majority shareholders. Mr. Ashcroft had small shares into it because he helped provide the money, loan to make them acquire it, right? At one point, Mr. Ashcroft bought 51.5, I think, percent of the company, and the Brisenials never continued owning it after that. As of right now that me and you have this conversation on the airwaves here with the rest of the public. So for all intents and purposes, even though the same company remain under the name of Smart, they're not the original owners, they own it anymore. You know why? Somebody came in, they invited somebody else in, or allowed somebody else to come in and buy up majority shareholder over 50% of the company. And for all intents and purposes right now, the company still remain as Smart, but the other Brisenials, they own it. The Ashcroft now own it. So when Brisenial made take free government contracts out of BTL and give it to Smart, for all intents and purposes, he helped himself and he helped Ashcroft because they own it jointly. But he does not have controlling interest in the company as he had before he allowed Mr. Man to buy up the bigger shares. Is that a way of clarifying what I was trying to say to you earlier? I mean, it's exactly an example of what you point out, right? Before.
I totally understand what you are saying. But in regards to what I'm saying as shareholders, Social Security put shares in there, the government put shares in there,
Therefore, the
people have shares in there.
These people have more control
They
over it.
put shares into an entity that was failing. But
No.
the name,
Wait,
listen
Greg.
to me.
Greg, remember what I said to you earlier.
Me.
The
While
government
they
took it back. Wait, man. The government took back BEL from Fortis. Fortis does not own BEL like they used to own it before. The government took it back. Eminent domain. Just like when it took back BTL from Ashcroft before, then took back from Fortis as well, the BEL, because they were essential services. And the government wants to have the people of the country control that asset. So they enter into an agreement with Fortis, because Fortis never want to sell the dam or give up the dam. It was to their interest.
Mr. Brackett, aren't we looking at the same thing with BTL?
Yes, sir.
The government took it back, but Ashcroft still have shares in it.
Wait. Okay, but that's a little different right now too, right? When the government took it back and then made it a public-private entity. It's not a public entity 100% anymore. It's a public-private. So the government sold shares to a lot of different other people besides Mr. Ashcroft. Mr. Ashcroft just happened to be an interested party when we hope that at some point in time, he may go buy up back the rest of the shares, and like when we did the first time round, I end up the won it. But you don't have need for that anymore, because now the Brazilian government and the PUP, they provide the company with them own together, smart, with all the possibility of taking over the government contracts. That's why Mr. Bernard was talking craziness the other day when you played that tape with him, and I'm more last about for talking craziness, so you don't know what I understand about. Trying to try bamboozle the public.
And likewise, I'm saying this to enlighten the people, because
then it chance people, man.
Are the policies of the past and this present government, and I'm talking specifically about this government, because likewise we are caught up the same way with the international airport. The identical thing. So let's not make no mistake.
At one point, the Musas then control the airport. You know that too, right? I mean, that's not news to everybody. It might be news to just some.
I'm quite aware why
these guys. Every time PUP come into power, they find a way to dispossess free country of the money-making assets and accrue that onto themselves. By the time they leave power, all of we national assets are in private hands, and that's part of the agenda, what they're trying to do right now with BEL and with BTL and any and all other government entity that is money-making. They try to capture all the money-making thing for themselves.
And
it's historically what they have done.
And I find it very ludicrous, because what they're doing and people are not looking is underbid them. When you underbid a corporation, they fall. And then you know what you put out there, they can't make it go. So
then you
privatize it. Goes and selling blocks.
That's the point.
Goes and the selling blocks.
That's it.
And
that's
we're seeing it. We're seeing it. Because if you look around,
and then Mr. Ashcroft, wait. And then Mr. Ashcroft can come in and buy it up now for pennies on the dollar and own it all over again. You make PUP win the next cycle. Make PUP win the next general election and see what will happen to it.
If you look around, it's not hard to see what is happening. When you look at BL and Fortis, that's an outsider. When you look at ASRBSI, the issue we are having, another outsider. When you look at what happened to the port, when you look at the international airport, remember, you had foreigners who wanted to come in and regulate it. So this is something that is
ongoing,
recycling itself.
Just the way how they operate. Somebody come in and suborn them with at least something on the side, and then turn over everything that belongs to the government that they are entrusted with on behalf of the public, and they turn it over, make somebody else get the sweet sort of it.
And that was why I asked the question, because it looks to me, and I believe it strongly, we are going back into privatization
Deliberately
instead
so,
of
not by
nationalization.
accident.
We
It is
are
not going to be,
right on that road.
it's not accidental or
Yeah.
oversight. It's a deliberate, intended process. And we are just seeing the bits and pieces being put in place. Mr. Marshalek, for example, an intelligent person like himself would get up there and sit down with Moors and try and impress on the Belize people listening to that program that privatization is the better way out. In other words, we as Belizeans can't control our own destiny. We're not entitled to make life easy for ourselves and our people.
Isn't
We
that
have to
where
have
a
a
new
bunch of
identity
we
come
have to have a
in?
bunch of drunkards come in and eat up the carcass.
Isn't that where a new identity come in?
That's part
Because
of it.
then if you go that way, we are looking at straight capitalism. And that goes right hand in hand with being a republic.
But it's
Because
not just
then,
capital. Greg, remember what I keep telling you, right? Let's not
right,
give
I know, but
capitalism.
I'm saying,
We can't stipulate that capitalism unto itself is cancerous.
while we do have some
There are different
genuine ones,
forms of capitalism,
yes, while we do
the
have
good one
some
and the bad
genuine
one.
farms,
Uh-huh.
right, but these ones are bad ones because we
Outright
see where
for the
they're heading
beginning.
to.
From the beginning, they're
You
bad.
know,
God,
this is
they hide themselves
pointing,
under the guise of a government, of a duly elected government, and then they sell
this
us out.
one is pointing strictly to republic, and you've seen it every day,
But
every day.
even the idea of wanting to become a republic is for an agenda. The getting to the stage of becoming a republic is just one other step along one other milestone along the process of dispossessing the local Belizeans and specifically the black people from Belize of that piece of Central American territory, because according to the people never want to own it or claim that they're supposed to own it. They don't even want to own it for the black. For the Guatemalan people them, the Mesito people them, or the indigenous people of Guatemala, or they want to own it for the Castellanos them, the few elites that run and control everything. All they want is just the assets, the wealth, whatever they can get out of the because we have oil, we have uranium, we have gold, we have copper, we have bauxite, we have all kind of things, I believe. So then people who want free country, they not they don't want just the land or the people them or the country per se. They want control of the assets that they can generate income or value or extract value out of. They're not, you
I
see,
believe, I truly believe
anyway,
that we are
it's a big
moving
agenda,
into
man.
a new era of neo-colonialism. And I don't have to say who I think is behind it. Because when you look at the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, and I listen to Mia Motley's speech a lot, who's a
Hmm.
very educated woman. And you
She's
can
not just
see things,
educated. She's prescient. She's somebody that sees the future.
she, she reminds me of the African lady who's also a
Mhm.
president, who's
Right,
the
right.
first one
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
to take
uh-huh,
Israel to the ICJ.
uh-huh.
But I keep saying it, right? Time is changing where the white man will start to become poor through the valuation of their dollar. They are running them out of Africa and they are falling in the Middle East as we speak. That is why they don't want to let go of Israel, because that's the breadbasket of where they will come. Why do you want the Arab nations to sell their oil in US dollars? But now the Arabs and the other countries are getting together to say, you know what? Let's trade in our own currency. That will devaluate their power because countries are starting to find out that sanction only works when the U.S. currency is being used. If that is not being used, they can't sanction nobody that is against what they're doing.
Mhm.
Because I find out that many nations, even in NATO, is against them because
Mhm.
they speak of democracy when they are not for democracy, and it has been proven
Well,
because,
you see
like
where
Israel,
Ireland and the other two places and did just
right,
a day ago, and more of them are
right,
following in line.
exactly,
The problem is
exactly.
I don't understand why is it that Netanyahu can take his country and so many other countries in the world along with him down that devious and evil path. That is the part that I don't understand. How is it that he could exercise more power over the interests of America than America can exercise over its own interests in terms of getting its ally Israel to do anything on behalf of America's well-being? But everything has to be done on behalf of Israel's well-being by America. That's like backwards. That's the part where I don't seem to,
Well,
you know,
well, to express
not
that
that I
to
don't
you,
understand it, I know we can't understand it.
well, well, let me
I would
put it
say
this
that's the
way.
part that I can appreciate.
Let me put it this way. America has come a long way from slavery and to voters' rights to present. But in Israel, when you look at the Palestinians, the Israelis think they're inferior to them. They are like slaves. They have no, you know, they're just looking at them as though they don't exist, like what was done
Uh,
in Africa with
Greg,
apartheid, you know?
wait, give me a chance because I bring up that point and just throw a little bit of fire a little bit of hot coal in the fire, no, make it stay warm. In the Bible, there is a description about an incident that happened, right, where Abraham and his wife Sarah had traveled to Egypt. They had traveled. They came from what you call UR, or UR, capital U, capital R, or of the Chaldees. That's the name of the place, right? In Upper Iraq. More to say around by where the Kurds they reside currently, right? Northern Iraq, or will I say northeastern Iraq, something like that to be precise. But they went down to Egypt, and because according to what they say, Sarah was a pretty lady, and to make the Pharaoh, because the Pharaoh used to have this thing that all the pretty ladies in the African kingdom he wanted, right? So Sarah and Abraham concocted the idea that tell this Pharaoh or anybody who asks, who are they? They said they're a brother and sister, right? They never acknowledged that they were husband and wife in order to save Abraham's skin. So after the Pharaoh got to find out that they were husband and wife, the Pharaoh may done to get involved with Sarah, right? So he banished them from his kingdom, right? And he gave them material wealth, and he gave them one slave. The name of that slave was who? You remember? Hagar, right? Remember Hagar? Okay.
Right,
So Sarah tell Abraham, go and sleep with Hagar, because that's probably how the Lord can bless you with many children, as you have been told. You were supposed to be blessed to have many children. So since I ate it, I can't have no children anymore. You go ahead and go sleep with Sarah, with servant. So he went and sleep with her, and he bear her a child by the name of what? Ishmael. Remember? Huh? Remember?
yes, I do.
Okay. So Ishmael,
I do know.
let me finish though. Let me finish. It's very important. That's why I
Mhm.
had to go through the process. Critically important. So he bear Hagar, the slave, bear the child for Abraham, the firstborn, And in those days, the custom was that the firstborn is the head of the household, right? Now, Sarah, so-called, trying to help God do God's work or make God statement come to fruition. So when Abraham had the child with Hagar, what's her name? Sarah got jealous, right? Because now this child, Abraham, would have been Abraham firstborn and therefore the head of the household. And therefore Sarah would have been like, even though she was the wife, Hagar would have had the privilege to exercise the powers of the household more than the wife, by virtue of her son being the firstborn and the next person in line to own and control and run the household. So then Sarah got jealous and kicked them out of the house, because she could not countenance the idea that somebody else picked them and be the head of the household, and she would play second fiddle to Abraham. And then put them out in the desert. Now, that son, Ishmael, was a Semite, right? The guy is a descendant of Abraham, right? And the descendants of Abraham are the Semites, right? Eventually, Sarah ended up to have another son for Abraham, which according to them was the promised one, and therefore they were justified to treat the firstborn and kick them out, put them out in, and from then they mistreat them people all over material things, and it has never stopped. When the Israelis, they were sent into Egypt in bondage because the leaders, had committed so much wrongs, right? So they were allowed to go into bondage, and they would end up in Egypt. When they left from there, they went back to the same place where Abraham and Sarah was living. And then they want to say, okay, well, God tell them to go and kill every man, woman, and child, because the place was rich and had honey, big grapes. Everything in the place was giant, including the people who lived there. So out of materialism, then gone and violate God's 10 commandments again, right? And then the commandment says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's good, thou shalt not trespass on your neighbor's wife, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not do any of these things that were involved in the 10 commandments. Have no other God behind. And so they went and they gone and they killed up everybody in the place. But what's his name? What the guy name? And I try to remember his name now. Okay. Anyhow, so because they never kill everybody, some of them were cursed, right? Because according to them, God may tell them kill every man, woman, and child, and even the beasts, the animals, and everything, and they never do that. Then left some of the people there, and then take all the animals them, and then kill up all of the man and everybody else so they could get to kill. They been killing them people from way back then. They're not just today that they kill them. They're the tens of thousands. You know how many millions of people they have killed from way back in those thousands of years till now? And the same God way, according to them, tell us we're not supposed to covet the neighbor's property or goods. We're not supposed to lie. We're not supposed to steal. We're not supposed to kill. That the same God will turn around and tell them go kill everybody else who want something else where they never have, but because they want it. How does that square to you or anybody else? But anyhow, it's a long story, you know.
Right.
The world is a bit more complicated.
We have come to the end. We had went over a bit. Can you do the closing, sir?
No problem. Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belize Affairs Show number 145 for Wednesday, 22nd of May of 2024. We just ended we are at the point of ending our program now, and we are ending it the way we started it, reading from or talking about scriptural matters and trying to contextualize them. I hope that everyone here in this particular program would have been a bit more enlightened for having paid attention to it, at least gotten something out of it positively. But one person had asked me, I think it was more than one person, but I've been asked before, why is it that when we do our program, it sounds like the church would have? Because especially when the first part of the program we do with prayer and we do with scripture reading and things like that. And so one of the person was telling me, it looked like a church and they have, So I tell him, no, that's just how we start the thing. But if you listen long enough, you can get the rest of the story. Yeah. And for today program, at the end of this program, now what we're finishing up, we're going to lead deeper into the scriptural stuff than normal, right? But I had to do that little part there just now because a lot of people don't understand how far back this craziness they go. And that the same God we talk about, according to everybody, but that same God is not the God of only today or only yesterday. It's the same God of yesterday, today, and forever. And the same laws that he put down, the 10 commandments that Moses threw out at the Israelis them and broke because they were being contemptuous, then still they broke the 10 commandments as of today date. If you look in the history of Israel, they have gone into bondage many, many times over and over and over, and they still have not learned what they need to learn and behave the way they're supposed to behave because of materialism. But I'll leave that there for right now, and tonight's program has come to an end. Thank you very much, Greg, for helping to host tonight's program and your contributions, sir. God bless. God bless
Thank
Belizeans
you,
at home and
sir.
abroad as well. Good night.
Thank you. With that, good night.